Hello and welcome back. This is DC TV. It is Entertainment Talk's DC TV podcast covering the CW DC shows, because there's of course Gotham as well. But we don't cover that. Natasha will cover that when it comes back. I'm your host as always, Matthew. Joining me today is Robert. How's it going over the other side of the ocean?
It's cold. We've gotten our first official dusting, as we like to call it, of snow. It's not a real heavy snowfall, just enough to get, like a little thin layer. It's kind of like if you ever watched a cooking show and they have like confectioner sugar in a sieve and they just tap it and it just goes diddle it down real quick.
Okay.
On the dessert. It kind of looks like that.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, I woke up this morning and felt pretty awful, and I was kind of in doubt as if I was going to do this podcast, but then a couple of hours later I felt fine, and obviously we did, because I'm recording this right now, so I'm glad that I got around to it. I don't know what it was, I don't know, I got to sleep pretty late, so that was maybe part of it. So yeah, let's get into these episodes rather than talk about all that sort of stuff. So the first one is for Supergirl, which was season 2 episode 7, called The Darkest Place. I like this episode quite a lot. I like the stuff with James becoming a vigilante thing. I hope to see him interact with Kara a bit more, and it was interesting with what's her name, Alex. I'm beginning to remember these Supergirl character names a bit better. You've got Wynn, you've got Alex, you've got Kara, you've got James, all that lot. All those sort of characters. You've got what's his name? John Jones, or John Jones, whatever you want to say. So it's starting to. I feel like it's starting to pick up a little bit more, which is really good for this show. And I feel like when these shows come back for their 10th episodes, for the second half, I feel like that's when things will properly kick off. Given some of the craziness that I've heard of episodes 8 and the mid-season finales. Just a second, let me turn on the laptop charger. Yeah, so I like this episode. What did you think of this one, if you remember?
It's a decent enough episode. Once we get into the more specifics of the episode, I'll just go ahead and comment on that. But I'm liking the way that a couple of character arcs are stretching out, and a couple others I'm not so enthralled with, but we'll get into that later.
Okay. So a new vigilante appears in National City and starts killing some of the criminals James has been securing. Mon-El makes an unsuccessful escape attempt, because of course he was kidnapped in the previous episode. We do have a tweet from Colin Render about Supergirl, so I'll bring that up in just a second. So thank you for Colin sending that in. Where was I? Yeah, Mon-El makes an unsuccessful escape attempt. Lillian demands Kara come to Cadamus by threatening Kim. Kara arrives and is overpowered by the real Hank, who is enhanced and called the Cyborg Superman. This is one of the unfortunate thumbnail spoilers that I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, which can't really be avoided unless I unsubscribe from the CW on YouTube. So what did you think of Cyborg Superman?
I don't like the name.
Yeah, it didn't quite click to me until you just mentioned that, but...
Yeah, because first off, Cyborg is already an established character in the CW. Second off, he doesn't look... I mean, they don't make him look anything like Superman. Like when they did a female version of Bizarro a few episodes last season. I mean, they made her look like Supergirl, but they called her Bizarro. So that part I was pretty cool with.
Right.
But this part, they just called him Cyborg Superman, and I don't know why. I don't know if there's like some reasoning behind it that we have yet to been shown.
Probably. Yeah.
But so far, I mean, it's one of those things that it has yet to make sense, and I'm a couple episodes ahead of you.
Okay. So let me read out this tweet from Colin. He said, "Love the my cousin worked with a vigilante once line in Supergirl. Obviously, it was to do with Batman. Maybe a Batman v Superman reference.
Who I forget who was saying that reference.
Kara, Supergirl.
Yeah, it's probably a Batman reference.
It kind of clicked in my mind, and then I was actually after she said that, I was like, it makes sense as an Easter egg, but obviously because you've got like two Superman and two Flashes, because they're keeping them separate at the moment. So it's not like a fully tied universe, but it's a good little kind of Easter egg to throw in. He also said, just for a second, I thought Superman was back to save Catalans. Then I realised Dean Cain is her father. So yeah, a guy turned up and saved Kara, and I was kind of confused as to who he was at first. He did say something else. Just for a second, I thought, yeah, that was the second thing that he said. So thank you, Colin, for those tweets. Very nice of you. So yeah, I like the Batman Superman kind of Easter egg reference. It was very cool. So going back to Cyborg Superman, it's an interesting choice. He looked cool. I can see some people having some problems with it, of course, because we live in a day and age of Reddit and the internet and whatnot. So I can imagine some people had a problem with him. What did you think of the way he looked?
I think the look, it was, for the most part, it was okay. Unfortunately, it did look prosthetic in the sense that it didn't look like that was something... You could tell where all the makeup and effects were. Especially in the later scene of it. It's either the later scene that I see or the... I'm thinking of the next episode, sorry. Just ignore what I said.
Okay. To avoid spoiling The Walking Dead, what do you think was a better looking injury? This one or the Walking Dead one that you know I'm referring to? I know that this Superman thing isn't really an injury, it's more of an eye thing, but what one did you think looked better?
I thought the Walking Dead one looked way better.
Okay, cool. Obviously, it's different really, because like one's an injury, like an accident, and one's a actual design for a superhero. But you can see kind of where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Wynn deduces that the vigilante targets the murderers who were exonerated. The former finds the next target, with James managing to defeat the serial killer who is arrested. Lillian, who Kara identifies, forces her to deplete her powers, giving the former the chance to take blood samples of her. Jeremiah saves Kara and Mon-El and helps them escape by staying behind. So this is a scene. Is this a scene where that guy comes back in, the one Colin was just talking about? Or am I getting confused with something else? Because he comes and saves Kara and Mon-El, and later Kara kind of says to Mon-El that she was really brave, that he was really brave, which is true. He was, which was quite cool. What did you think of the whole capture kind of storyline?
I think it kind of fit and made sense. I mean, Kara has been pretty selfless so far in the first, season and a half that we've seen, so her doing that was not out of character. I wasn't the biggest fan of the serial killer, not because I didn't think it made sense, the way they set the character up, the way they set his backstory up, the character itself really made sense. It was his tech that I had the problem with, because that weapon that he was using is actually based on a real weapon. I have actually seen, not in person seen it, but I have seen it in action.
Right.
And that's not something you slap together. That's something that you need company of 10 gunsmiths in 3 years and $20 million to make.
Hmm. So Kara finally approves the Guardian while Alex finds out about his true identity. That was kind of a well done scene, I want to say. Alex is like kind of not bugging Win, but she's like, you have to kind of tell me. And then Win's like, it's James, calm down, don't say anything. And she's like, oh my god. She seems shocked, but in a way of like, I'm shocked, but this makes some sense. It's not like some random employee of theirs from where they work. So
Yeah.
what did you think of the reveal of his identity?
It was good. I mean, it's one of those things that the character that they set up with Alex, she's pretty dogged with that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Wynn knew her well enough, at least, to realize that she wasn't going to let it go. So, that reveal was not that big of a deal, letting her in on it. Plus, I think, on some level, Kara is used to keeping secrets from... Alex is used to keeping secrets from Kara, because she was the whole DEO thing for the longest time.
Mm. Yeah. I thought it worked really well. So that's good. Mon-El develops feelings for Kara, which we could was another one of them things that wasn't like far-fetched, but it wasn't fully predictable. So I thought that worked well as well. Cyborg Superman arrives. I have to remember to put those two together because they're not Cyborg or Superman, it's Cyborg Superman. Arrives at the Fortress of Solitude and uses Kara's blood to trick the system into recognizing him as her. Demanding to know about the Medusa projects, so that happened as well. Meanwhile, Jean begins. Do we have to call him Jean, or is it just John? Or it doesn't.
I think it's one of those where it's a merger of the J and the S, so it's kind of Jones, weirdly pronounced like that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Jean begins having hallucinations and finds out about Morgan, who he locks in the DEO. She warns him that the transfusion will turn him into a white Martian, and Alex finally accepts Maggie as just a friend, so that was good as well. I like the way this episode ended. It was really nice. Nice to kind of have a happy ending like that, compared to obviously last week where Mon-El was being captured. So it was a nice way to end it. So yeah, a pretty good episode. I'm finding that with these CW shows, let's say if you have something like, I don't want to go comparing this show to anything on HBO, but let's say you have like The Leftovers or what was the other one that they did recently? Westworld. How can I forget that? It's a tightly kind of knit 10-episode season where things kind of move quicker. But in shows like this, where you got 20+ episodes, unless you've got tons and tons and tons of story, where you can do like 5-episode arcs or 2-episode arcs, it will take longer to get to certain stuff, and things will be slowly revealed as you go along in the show because of the fact there's more episodes. Do you kind of agree?
I think they're definitely trying to fill in space. I have a kind of a mini rant on that for the next episode, for the upcoming crossover episode, but I'll save that for after you've seen the episode and we can talk about it fully.
Okay. But yeah, you kind of have to. I haven't really felt like much of these seasons have been filler. Maybe a couple of episodes of Arrow, or I don't know. I can't pinpoint much filler. There's probably been a bit of it, but yeah, they've been good seasons so far. So let's move on to The Flash, which I think I have some interesting thoughts on because a couple of episodes ago when this is for The Flash season 7 episode 7, which was called Killer Frost. Do you remember when I said I had concerns about this episode?
Yeah.
I really like the way it turned out, actually. Whether it's just because The Flash's writing seems to be better than the other shows. That's not to put the other shows down, that's to put The Flash ahead of these other shows. But I thought that maybe Catelyn was going to go on some kind of crazy 2-3 episode Killer Frost villain stuff, the way the episode ended with like the stuff with Barry, I thought worked really well. It was kind of a small stint as her as Killer Frost. I just really liked the way it turned out, so I thought it was great. She wasn't like too villainous either. And the stuff with Savitar in this episode was really cool, and I find him a really intimidating villain. Possibly more intimidating than Zoom, but maybe because he's physically bigger than Zoom, and that's obviously comes down as more intimidating. So what did you think of, let's start with Savitar, what did you think of him?
I like the fact that they're going full CGI with this character. I think with a lot of the fact that it is the Flash and the fact that you've got the whole speedster aspect of it, balancing that line between, hey, we have real actors doing 80% of this stuff, and then we've got the speed stuff where we just CGI the crap out of it. Sometimes you get a bit of a disconnect with that, to where it doesn't look as, it's one of those things where obviously it is fake, but you get some good CGI, you don't notice that it's fake. But every now and then you get the littlest bit of hint of a whisper of how it's fake. But with Savitar,
I'm usually not very good at determining. If you showed me something and said this is fully CG, I would maybe 60% not be sure. I don't really have the eye for that kind of stuff. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's more because I'm older and I've seen the evolution of CG, and I grew up on movies like Tron. I don't know if you've ever seen the original Tron.
No.
It's definitely worth a watch.
The newer one either. So
don't bother watching the newer one. The newer one's terrible.
I heard some bad things. So
it's not that it's bad. It's just they took a really interesting character from the first one, and the only way that I could really describe it, that as someone who's not seen it might get, is they turned like a really interesting, nerdy, techie character into Obi-Wan Lebowski.
Okay, right. But yeah, I thought Savitar worked really well as a villain, and I found Zoom really intimidating last season, so for me to find this villain more intimidating is something they've done very well. So yeah, that works out pretty well. But what did you think of the Catelyn stuff?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised that they went the way that they did, because we never really saw the full backstory of Earth 2's Killer Frost, so we don't know what her, psychological profile was to make her a killer. But everything we've seen, even with the Flashpoint changes, with Caitlyn, is that she's somebody that is very, I don't want to say meek, because she's definitely got her strengths. I guess docile would be the best way to describe it, but that has kind of an odd connotation. She just basically doesn't want to be a bad guy. And she kind of gives in a little bit to the darkness in her anger.
Yeah, you can kind of see it a little bit,
but you can also tell she really doesn't want to do that.
Which is where I was worried that they were going to go to, so that's why I had kind of the concerns for the episode. But yeah, I'm very happy with the way it turned out. So let's get into the recap. Savitar opts instead to race Barry instead of stab him in the heart. Which it looked very likely he was going to do, so obviously that wasn't going to happen, because then you wouldn't have the Flash. So Savitar opts to race Barry instead across the city, then batters him to demonstrate his superiority, or here it says its superiority, but I'm going to say his. Cisco and Catelyn arrive to rescue Barry, which was also very cool, some more vibe and Killer Frost kind of stuff. But Savitar flees, runs away very quickly, obviously, because he's a speedster. He or she or it. What do you think Savitar is?
I don't know, and I'm 2 episodes ahead of you, and they still really haven't gotten too. I mean, they've gotten a little bit into the backstory, but they've never convincingly said exactly who or what Savitar is, which I really like. It's nice being able to not instantly guess where that, where a plot point is going.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna say the character just looks a bit more male-like. I don't know how you can kind of, it just looks like a male kind of villain, from my kind of perspective. But yeah, Savitar flees. Catelyn with a Killer Frost aspects having taken over taken over, violently interrogates one of Alchemy's followers at the CCPD, so the Central City Police Department headquarters. Then abducts Julian and concerts him to find other acolytes, and he was obviously very confused at this. I'm starting to like his character more, which is good. In order to find Alchemy and have him remove her powers. Anything to say here?
I think that's a normal thing, with her character. She's kind of using her powers to get rid of her powers, because again, we go back to, she doesn't want to be a bad person, but she's making the assumption that it's the powers that are taking control of her, and she's not willing to take control of her powers, which I do admit I did find a little bit odd, given how much the first season of The Flash, both of them, both Cisco and Caitlin, were helping Barry take control of his powers. Mm-hmm. The fact that she didn't want to do that with hers was kind of odd, but it made sense in the whole scheme of it.
Barry and Cisco track her down and imprison her, but the team is fractured after she reveals Barry's role in Dante's death by creating Flashpoint. So that was a dark kind of reveal. It was along the same lines as her, Cisco's kind of reveal. Was it last week, 2 weeks ago? Where they were kind of all in Star Labs, and Cisco was like, "Look, I can't keep this in anymore. She's got the Killer Frost power stuff." That reveal is what I'm referring to.
Yeah, that was a bit of a payback.
Yeah, which worked as well. Greatly concerned and disregarding the consequences, Joe breaks Wally out of the cocoon, which was a bad idea. It didn't end up being devastating, but he was trying to get his son out, so yeah, you can understand it. So, well, it's one of the kind of foolish decisions that make sense for the characters' relationships, but it's still risky. So that was that. Wally emerges with unimaginable speed powers. This is when I thought he was going to become Kid Flash, which would have been a cool twist of a way to do it, because as we kind of see in this episode with Barry looking up at the sky in the place that he got his powers, it was by a different kind of method, obviously with the particle accelerator explosion. So to get the powers like this would have been cool. Wally emerges with unimaginable speed powers, and he races away in a confused state. Barry offers, and then Barry comes along and injects the powers out of him. I was a little bit confused by that scene.
What that was is that he didn't come out of the cocoon at the right time, and so that concoction was meant to finalize and stabilize the process.
Okay.
So it's kind of the only thing that I can come up with, and it's not even a really good analogy. It's just the only one that would make any sense. It'd be like forgetting to tie your shoelace and then running off. It's not going to be the best thing that you're going to want to do. And like I said, it's not even a good analogy, but there's not really a good analogy that I can think of in that sense.
Okay, I see what you mean there. Yeah. Barry offers his life to Caitlin for her freedom in a successful attempt to restore her sanity and gain her help in treating Wally. So that was pretty cool as well. Joe and Barry locate Wally and stabilize his condition with Caitlin's serum. And Wally soon embraces his new abilities. So he does have them. That was a scene I slightly forgot. He does have them by the end, and he's really overly happy, and that was really nice as well. What did you think of that when he kind of came back?
Yeah.
And he was sort of running around and stuff. It was also a bit of symbolism. I don't know if symbolism is the right word to use, but when Jessie was using her powers in kind of the same scene, they're all in that same room together, and she's running around at the top. Now this time it's Wally running around at the top, so I thought that was a pretty nice way to connect it as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain amount of symmetry to that. And that obviously, like we said on a previous one, it makes sense for his character since he was doing the street racing. He's addicted. He's a little bit addicted to going fast and speed.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've ever done any kind of anything where you're going like crazy super fast. I've done a few roller coasters where you get pretty fast up in there,
Yeah.
and it's always a cool thing.
Hmm. I mean,
Um,
not only is it cool to have that speed, but it's not just for running. You can like, let's say if you wanted to read a book really quickly, you could do that. Or if you need to run to the shops or run to work in 1 minute or something like that. It's useful for other stuff as well. Plus, you can like run up buildings. You can obviously a bit more risky, but you can like go back in time and stuff. Obviously, it's a bit risky because what we're seeing in Flashpoint. But yeah, it's useful for a lot to basically do anything quicker as well. So like cooking dinner, I guess you could do quicker and stuff like that. So it's useful.
well, you couldn't really cook dinner because
You can put it
it
in the
takes
oven
time
quicker.
for the thermodynamics to get into a
Well, I
food. I
mean,
mean,
you
you could
could
do
put it in the oven quicker and like set a
yeah, you could
timer
do all
and
the
run straight back to your sofa and stuff. So
you could do all the prep work really quick.
yeah. Obviously, yeah, you couldn't make like the food cook quicker itself. But yeah, it'd be useful for all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, it's a good power to have. Um, so Joe locate serum. And Wally embraces his new abilities, which we saw. Julian agrees to protect Catelyn from the police, but forces Barrett to resign from the CCPD in exchange. This was pretty sad. It was a lot sadder than I was expecting, because when he first brings it up and he first tells Barry about this, I was like, oh, it's just good. He's maybe going to find a way to brush it off or something like that, but yeah, he just packs his stuff, he leaves, he looks up at the ceiling at where he became the Flash. He didn't know it at the time, but that's where he became the Flash, and yeah, it was a little bit sad. What did you think?
I think the scene made sense for the character because they've never really liked each other,
Yeah.
and he's always resented a few things about him, and that was such a way to get rid of him without, going to the boss one more time and saying this guy sucks, get him out of here.
Yeah. So that was a little bit sad, but believing Kim mortally, Julian agrees to protect Catelyn from the police but forces Barry to resign from the CCPD in exchange, believing him mortally unfit for wanting Catelyn shielded. Julian is later revealed to be alchemy and unwittingly working for Savitar, so that was a big reveal as well. What did you think of that at the end?
I really didn't think of it as a big reveal because it wasn't all that unexpected for me. I kind of saw that part of it coming, at least.
I kind of didn't at all, but it felt like it made sense once it was revealed a bit more. Which is kind of hard sometimes to do these big shocks in comic book shows, because not a lot of things are kind of off the table. You're dealing with like sci-fi elements all the time and people being revealed as different people, so it's hard to do these as much as other shows. But yeah, really great episode. I loved what happened with Catelyn and that sort of stuff. Yeah, Catelyn also went to kill Barry, and then she spoke. He like talked her down and stuff, and said, you don't want to kill your friends and all this sort of stuff, and that was kind of a nice scene too. I saw some people like trying to ship Barry and Catelyn, and I'm like, but you have Barry and Iris, so.
What do you mean by ship them?
Like I listened to some podcasts that were for this episode, and they were like, yeah, we thought that this would maybe be hinting at like a shipping between.
Oh, you mean like a
Yeah,
romance?
yeah. But then I was kind of thinking, you got Barry and Iris already, so yeah, I didn't see it that way at all. What did you think?
No, I don't. Maybe in the first season, especially when they had that karaoke scene together. But after that, then that would have been just like not happening.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way either. Yeah, let's move on to. I almost thought I didn't put it in the notes, so I scrolled down too much and saw Legends, so I thought I almost didn't put Arrow in here, but I did. So should we move on to Arrow?
Yeah.
Yep, cool. So this is for Arrow season 7 episode. Sorry, not season 7. I put 7. I guess I'm too used to, because I typed in 707 so much yesterday for The Walking Dead. I've typed in 7 for all these, but yeah, season 5, episode 7, which is called Vigilante. This episode again didn't do much for me, but I thought last week's did. This kind of just had sort of the aftermath of the stuff with Detective Lance and Thea and that sort of thing. It didn't really do much else for me. What did you think of this episode?
I'm really surprised that you didn't think it did that much for you. Well, with the big reveal at the end, but we'll get to that in a bit.
I don't know. It didn't click right with me. We'll talk about the reveal, which was pretty cool, but we'll talk about that once we get there. A new vigilante appears in Star City, known as Vigilante, which was, a name. So one who kills criminals in cold blood, so that was revealed as well. Quinton tenders his resignation as deputy mayor. He later tells Thea about the throwing star and his drunken blackouts. This stuff I did like. This stuff with Lance and all that sort of stuff. It was a good way to have an aftermath for it. So yeah, he tells Thea about the throwing star and his drunken blackouts. He believes he is being set up. The team. So what did you think of this?
I think that would make sense in his mind if he was Prometheus and it was a drunken state and he wouldn't remember any of that. Then that setup thing would make sense. From what we've seen with that character throughout the 5 seasons, he's never really been the devious or duplicitous side. So I don't know that that's just him lying and trying to cover in case she suspects.
Yeah. Yeah. As I said, I like the aftermath of this, and it led on pretty well. But he believes he's being set up. The team intercepts the vigilante during a bank robbery, but he gets away, as does Eric Dunn, the head of the robbers. DA Chase forces one of the robbers to reveal Dunn's location, and Green Arrow saves him from the vigilante. So this the action in this episode was pretty good. I did like that. So that was pretty good. What did you think of the action?
Oh, the action made sense. I mean, the character just came so far out of left field. I don't know what's going on with it. For the
other vigilante. Thea convinces Quentin to go back into rehab, let's just say rehab, because I can't speak properly. Rehabilitation, that's it. While Oliver and Susan start getting closer, because the team suspects them to be dating and all that sort of stuff, so that was pretty cool. There was one thing I was really confused in Arrow up until I listened to a podcast. I kept getting confused as to why Ragman and Prometheus looked almost exactly the same. Because if you remember back in because I remembered yesterday back in our first podcast for the season, I was like, Prometheus is revealed to be the other guy. I was obviously confused at the time because their suits are so similar that I thought that was it's an easy mistake to make, right? So he's Ragman. I was just a bit confused at that then until now. Did you feel like it's an easy mistake to make?
No, because the Prometheus character never had all the rags going all really which way. They're definitely not doing themselves any favor by having all the characters between Vigilante, Ragman, and Prometheus to be dark, shot in really dark lighting.
That's one of the CW. Is it? Yeah, problem. Because they do it sometimes in 100. I don't know if you've seen that before, but yeah, because that has some like woods scenes and stuff, and that can get kind of have some dark lighting, and you can't really tell who's punching who and that sort of thing. So yeah, I get what you mean with that. So Thea convinces go back into rehabilitation. What did you think of the whole funny stuff between? Oliver says he has to leave to go see Susan, and then I think it's Wild Dog says, "Oh, you're like going on a date, aren't you?" What did you think of that?
Made sense. I mean, they're starting to get close enough as a team that they can start busting each other's chops over stuff like that.
yeah, this episode's worked for me more as the team. I'm starting to get just a bit more used to it, which I think is a pretty good thing. Because I was not kind of not liking the team, but just really not used to them. But now I'm starting to. So that's pretty good as well. Um, the team poses as the bank robbers to lure in the vigilante, who again escapes even after Oliver defeats him and nearly unmasks him. I wasn't sure if he was going to. His hand was getting closer to his face. I was like, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? And then it didn't. So I just wasn't sure. What did you think? Did you think he was gonna do it then?
I really don't know where they're going with this character.
Okay.
And so I don't know that, the reveal would have been anything impressive or dramatic because we had really nothing as a previous backstory. If that had been, Prometheus killing the bad guys and then Prometheus get almost captured but then not, I think it would have had a lot more impact. As it is, it's kind of more of a throwaway than anything else.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure what they were going to do, but he didn't get unmasked. Yeah, the team poses. Oliver defeats him and nearly unmasks him. Thea tells Oliver about Quentin and the possibility of his being framed. They deduce that Prometheus must know Green Arrow's identity. In flashbacks, Kovar introduces Oliver to his servant, Galena, Tayana's mother. He also claims that the Brothertar has only been using Oliver for their own ends, including making a deal with him. Carvel then releases Oliver back to the Brothertar, and then the big reveal we're going to talk about. Evan is revealed to be working for Prometheus. I don't know why it didn't hit me. And then when I thought about it after, I was like, that should have maybe hit me more than it did, but I don't know why it didn't. It didn't like fall flat and make me disappointed. I was just, I don't know. What did you think of it? You said it was like a pretty crazy reveal and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it was a crazy reveal on some levels for me because the character Artemis, in some iterations, she was Sportsmaster's daughter, which was a pretty interesting but really unique bad guy in the DC universe. I mean, they call him Sportsmaster because he uses like baseball bats and hockey gears, but it's high-tech stuff.
Yeah.
So have like hockey pucks that he hits out and then explodes. And then he'll have like a hockey mask on, and he's really, really athletic, not like bodybuild, super jacked up, but just like kind of almost like Captain America without the super soldier serum, just being that physically skilled. But I've been really, really enjoying Dolph Lundgren being cast as Kovar, just because of my age and how I grew up and how we're first introduced to Dolph Lundgren as Ivan Drago in the Rocky series, in Rocky 4.
Yeah.
And just being this big, badass Russian dude. And then them having him play a big, badass Russian dude, but with more, sophistication and a higher level of eruditeness to him. It's been really enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
But the betrayal thing, I think, hit me more just because that's not really anything we've seen too much in Arrow. I mean, we kind of saw it. Yeah, we kind of saw it a little bit with the Malcolm Merlin character.
Yeah, he's always been kind of a Dwight from Walking Dead kind of thing. He's a bit villain and hero, sort of anti-hero kind of thing.
Yeah, but it was one of those things that it was done like really, really early in the season, in like season 1. And then he was just always a bad guy, but just kind of around. It wasn't like the annual friend betraying you thing that the Flash has become kind of for the most part.
Yeah. Which worked really well with the Wells stuff in season 1 of Arrow. I know a lot of people that really, really love that. Yeah, I don't know what it was about this reveal. It's a big thing, obviously, because she's betraying Oliver and stuff. But I have to see more of how it plays out. And of course, next week we got all crossovers and the what are those creatures called again?
Dominators.
Dominators. That's it. That they're fighting. So that's gonna kind of not distract the viewers, I think, but sort of put things on hold and then like look at this massive other big storyline that's happening, which they do kind of allude to at the end of this week's Legends episode, which of course we'll talk about in a moment. But yeah, I don't know. It wasn't like terrible and that was really predictable, but it was sort of, I was like, oh, okay, sort of thing. I'll see where this goes. But it wasn't like, if it was Felicity or something, I would have been a lot more shocked. But yeah, that's about all I have to say about it. You seemed pretty surprised when I said that. I wasn't like shocked more by it.
Yeah, but mostly that was just because that was one of the few twists and turns of the season that I didn't see coming a mile away. But now that I think about it, I really don't remember the Evelyn Sharp character from the previous season where her parents get killed and she blamed the vigilante.
Yeah, so that was Arrow. Some things worked, some things didn't. It wasn't as bad as some episodes of Arrow have been. So I didn't like hate it or anything. It was pretty decent. So let's move on and talk about Legends of Tomorrow, which was season 2. Again, I have 706 written down here for some reason. But it was season 2, episode 6, called Outlaw Country, which is the Legends of Tomorrow meets Westworld, kind of. Not in an Android sense or an AI sense, but in a Western sense.
Yeah.
This episode was pretty good. I feel like it's maybe not the strongest episode of Legends, but it did work for some things, and I don't know. It was one of the kind of thing of the weeks that led to some interesting stuff. So let's get into the recap. The team learns of an aberration in Colorado, 1874. Where they saved Jonah Hex from execution, so yeah, it was good to see Jonah Hex again. That was pretty cool. It reminded me of Two-Face in that, mainly because I played Telltale's Batman the day before this, so obviously some symmetry there. Where they saved Jonah Hex from execution, he reveals, and an awesome shot from Sarah, by the way, like to shoot the rope from there and that sort of thing. What did you think of that?
It was a good effect. I mean, obviously with her league training, and her, doing the whole arrow thing, shooting arrows every now and then. She was. Hang on one second. I'm sorry. Somebody's paging me here.
Okay. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I thought it was really awesome. It's yeah, she does have her league training and all that sort of stuff, but I was like, is she gonna have to like walk a bit closer, or like what kind of gun is that? It's like a Western rifle type thing. It's not like a shotgun, because it would.
No, that would be a Winchester repeating rifle, I believe.
Okay. Cool. So what were you about to say?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Somebody wanted to talk to me.
Okay. Yeah, so they saved Jonah Hex from execution. He reveals that he is fighting an outlaw boss named Quentin Turnbull. So that was cool as well. Nate reveals that the aberration is Turnbull leading the Western U.S. leading the Western U.S. in its succession to form the Turnbull country. The team learns that Turnbull is extracting Dwarf Star, which Ray used for his atom suit, and that Turnbull is planning to destroy a critical railway connecting the eastern US to the west, stopping the US Army from marching towards the west. While Sarah and Jonah engage Turnbull, Mick and Amaya destroy the mine, and Nate uses his powers to stop the train. Yeah, I really like the citizen steal stuff in this episode. I thought that was really cool, especially like the bullet deflecting, and his Man of Steel reference. So someone said Man of Steel in this episode. I can't remember if it was Citizen Steel or not. What did you?
I think it was Ray Palmer.
I think so. Yeah, it was somebody that said that. So what did you think of the little? Do you think that's a little Easter egg?
They've been doing nods to Brandon Routh's time as Superman.
Hmm.
I'm more interested how they did the whole Dwarf Star can penetrate his skin thing.
Yeah.
Because the character had, the Dwarf Star alloy as a tip for the bullet, and he shoots him in the stomach, and it hits him and goes through him.
Hmm. While Sarah and Jonah engage, sorry, I already read that. Nate uses his powers to stop the train. Instead of killing Turnbull, Jonah decides to deliver him to the authorities. With the Dwarf Star taken, Ray plans to rebuild his suit and shows Nate the suit he has made for the latter. So what did you think of the reveal of the suit?
It was okay. I'm not really familiar with the Citizen Steel. In fact, until you called him Citizen Steel, I assumed it was the character Steel, which there is another superhero called Steel. Had a really terrible movie in the 90s starring Shaquille O'Neal. But it was basically just an armor suit and a giant sledgehammer. Kind of Thor-ish, but a full length two-handed sledgehammer that had like some telekinetic tech in it. But I'm not that familiar with Citizen Steel, so I think the suit reveal was just kind of okay, that looks very comic booky.
Okay, just a moment. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So yeah, the one thing I thought of wondered was like, why does he need a suit?
I think what they're saying is that when he transforms and goes, he steals up, I guess, for lack of a better room. He doesn't have enough room in his clothes to do that, and they're kind of tearing a little bit. But past that, I don't know why he's in a suit.
Okay, because I thought it would be a bit like giving someone like Silver Surfer a suit. It's cool, but I don't quite get it.
Reasoning is that they don't have to CGI as much, but outside, in the actual storyline,
I didn't think
I couldn't tell you.
That's a good reason as well. Yeah. Unless they could, yeah, I don't know. A suit might be a good way to get around that as well. So where was I? Ray plans to rebuild his suit. And shows Nate the suit he has made for the latter. Amaya decides to teach Mick to control his anger because he needs to. Martin and Jefferson deduce that due to the former's interaction with his past self, he may have altered the past. Who hasn't in this show, apart from people in Arrow and Supergirl? I mean, Barry's done it a good few times now. So yeah, I do like the kind of time travel elements of these DC shows. I do think they land to some interesting stuff, and of course Flashpoint is the biggest example, but he's been, Barry's gone back to that scene with his mother so many times. So yeah, he thinks he knows all the past. Sarah tells the team that they need to return to 2016 to help their friends, which that did get me pretty excited. I was like, yes, crossover next week, because obviously it's the last one in the week for these shows, so they need to have that kind of, well, they don't need to, but it's a kind of nod to, like, we know there's like no Friday episode of anything, and like the next thing you'll see is the crossover start, so it's a good way to kind of include that and tie that in. So I thought it was a pretty decent episode. It was kind of, I don't know, it's a bit sort of like their weekly trip to somewhere, which is still cool as well. Like I said, I think last week or the week before, that this is essentially like Doctor Who but with superheroes. Without a TARDIS, but then you've got the Wave Rider and stuff. Did you think the episode was pretty good?
It was okay. I mean, it was one of those things that they had kind of a lot going on, and that's a problem some of the shows run into with episode to episode, is they've got so much stuff unresolved. What they choose to do resolved just kind of irks me from time to time.
Mm.
But it was a decent episode. I always enjoy seeing Jonah Hex come back. He's a funny character in the sense that he's just a regular cowboy dude, yet is completely unfazed by time travel and aliens and everything else they throw at him.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next week a lot and to see where the crossovers go, and I expect it will be a lot more crazier than these episodes. Not to say these weren't crazy, but obviously next week will. And I'm really looking forward to seeing like more character crossovers. Like to see everybody kind of meet everybody. But I do know that I'm not gonna kind of spoil what I know, but the Supergirl characters that cross over, that's going to be interesting, like how they do or don't handle that. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because we know who's going to be in the crossover episode regarding Supergirl. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what these villains are about as well. These Dominators, because apparently they're in the comics and that, and yeah, I know nothing about them, so I'm looking forward to being told what they're all about and to see what they can do and all that sort of stuff. So that's it for this week's DCTV. Yeah, do you have like a favourite of these episodes?
I think the Flash one was my favorite of this week, just because we've got more from Caitlin and more from Cisco.
Yeah.
It wasn't as Barry centric of an episode as some of them can tend to be.
Hmm.
And it was always interesting seeing her, reject the dark side of her nature of the Killer Frost power and just rather be Caitlin than that other character.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say the Flash is the best one of the week. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. If you'd like to check out everything else on the website, it's entertainmenttalk.org. Just type that into your browser, whether you're on your tablet, your phone, or whatever. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at eTalkUK for updates and inquiries, for updates and for posts and all that sort of stuff. If you'd like to send any inquiries, any feedback, you can do so by sending an email to entertainmenttalk@hotmail.com. Thank you, Colin, for your tweets. That was very nice of you. And yeah, you can search for us on Instagram and Tumblr and the other things that I made as well. So thanks everybody for listening. We shall see you for the crossover next week, or for Xbox on Monday for our Game of the Year awards. So that should be pretty cool. Thanks everybody for listening, and we shall see you on the next piece of content. Goodbye.